speaking of the trenches here, the O line gave up 4 sacks today, and it seemed like again, it was just at critical moments in the game where we were pushing the ball, we were moving it, there was a penalty or something like that that would just deflate us, and then okay, we're still, we're still got an opportunity on second long, third and long, or whatever, and then we just couldn't hold them. You know, Prohaska, he was out of this game, and Prohaska was out of the game, and that kind of maybe affected. I don't think it affected the outcome of the game, if I'm being honest, but it was good at least that we got Travis Vokalek back in the game. We got Nick Heinrich back, so those are two positives, if you will. I'm not trying to be the positive Peter of this game, right? But getting them back was certainly, I thought was going to be a bigger boost for us than what it probably was. Let's see here. Let's see. The gambler himself says, "Will any of the Big Ten West teams ever really have a chance of beating Ohio State or Michigan in the title game?" Um, that's a good question right there. I mean, that really is. I think so. I think if anybody would, it would be Nebraska. Again, I don't really want to jump into it. I mean, I almost do, but I don't want to because I know the smoke's going to come for me down below. There's a lot of rumors right now kind of circulating out there. And again, I don't like being the guy that buys into rumors and stuff like that. But if you kind of, you kind of almost have to say, well, where there's smoke, there certainly could be fire, about some of the things that kind of happened while Scott Frost was here and potentially some of the talent we let slip through our hands, and some of the things that were kind of going on there. Uh, you know, I certainly think that Nebraska, if anybody in the Big Ten West, has the best chance to compete for him. We just have to have the right guy, leading the program. That simply is all it is. You got to have the right guy, and he has to have. And here's the thing, right? He doesn't need 5-6 years to determine how good he's going to be. You're going to know whether we've got the right guy by year 3. If you're not winning more than 4 games, there starts to be a lot of murmurings about things kind of going on inside the program. And there's a lot of blame game kind of going on. There's a lot of blank stares, like in the post-game press conferences. Why, that's not the right guy. That's just not the right guy. It's the guy like, almost like Brent Venables. I saw something today where they were talking about it, the Oklahoma coach. But I saw something today where they were talking about old Scott. I don't want to kick him while he's down, but it's just, he kind of had the same look on his face game in, game out, whether we were doing stuff great or we weren't. And, somebody was saying, the only other coach that really is like that is like Bill Belichick, as far as like a lot of other coaches, they're real fiery, they're real rah. And that's the great part about being able to coach at this level is you can still do that. You can still be a rah kind of guy. You can coach with emotion, in the NFL, you can't really do that, right? In the NFL, it doesn't matter whether you lose one game or not. In college football, a lot of times, and it's not going to be like this down the road, as we expand the playoffs. But the great thing about college football is you can have that sort of, that emotion behind it. One game makes or breaks the season for right now, right? To answer your question, I think, as far as will somebody be able to ever really have a chance of beating Ohio State or Michigan? Yeah, I think, again, the reality of the situation, if anybody could do it, it would certainly be Nebraska. That is for sure. Nebraska almost beat Michigan last year. Granted, I mean, almost doesn't really mean a whole lot unless, we're playing Polish horseshoes, right? Or whatever have you. But, and Michigan beat Ohio State. It's always an interesting who can or shoulda, woulda, coulda game that we can play with this. I personally think within the next, if Nebraska gets the right coach in the next couple of years or so, I think they'll be right back up there. We'll certainly have a chance to be right back up there and push them again. The Big Ten West, I mean, from everything I'm seeing, again, let me click back into this. You got to think about this. Northwestern lost today to, I think it was Southern Illinois. I just had it up here and I clicked out of it, so you'll have to excuse me. While I'm looking this up, if you guys don't mind, kind of talking about, what your guys' observations were in the game, for today's game, maybe who you want to see, as the next head coach, whether it be Mickey Joseph or Urban Meyer, whoever you want to see. Let me know down below. We'd love your feedback. Okay, it looks like, and I could be wrong on this, it looks like Indiana right now is tied, and this is our next opponent we're going to be playing. They're in overtime versus Western Kentucky. So, yeah, I mean, again, the Big Ten West, it's up for grabs, and there's a lot of uncertainty kind of going on out there in the Big Ten West, uh, for sure. You know, again, what I want to see, kind of transitioning out of that, I'll say is this. I want to see. How does Mickey Joseph though. I want to see how does he respond. He's got a couple of weeks to really dig in deep, really start hammering, the team, and really see what they're made of. Mickey Joseph, as we transition into a bye week, and as we start transitioning into Big Ten play, has a chance to establish himself, in this league. Maybe, okay, again, just maybe he can do something. Now, again, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know how far gone, we really are into the season, just based off of some of the things we've seen, as far as it may just need it just we may just need a full off season or a couple of years to really fix a lot of these problems, right? That's for sure. Let's see. It's a good one right here. NCAA playoff. Again, welcome back, sir. It's always good to see you on here. Would Dino Babers, current head coach of Syracuse, be a good fit at Nebraska? I think, I've done a lot of coverage I did a little bit of coverage on Dino Babers up there at Syracuse. He's been good and bad. He's kind of had some good years, and he's fallen off, it seems like, over the last couple of years at Syracuse. If I'm not wrong, I think Dino Babers a couple of years back ended up beating I think Dino Babers, if I'm not mistaken, ended up beating Clemson, if I'm not mistaken. NCAA playoff, if you don't mind, tell me in the chat real quick, while we're kind of looking through this, was he a defensive-minded coach? I can't remember. If he's a defensive-minded coach, I think he could be, right? Because, I mean, he does an okay job at being able to, sort of do something with that Syracuse program, right? I mean, it's been a long time since Syracuse has really been relevant in football. I mean, gosh, what's it been? Donovan McNabb back in the 90s was probably the last time they were actually relevant at football. And they were in a different league, if I wasn't mistaken, back then. Rob Johnson. Again, I wasn't campaigning to keep Mickey. I just wanted y'all's opinions here. Frost 4.5 favorite in his first game, lost by 4. Difference 8.5. Mickey plus 11 by 35. He was, not scheduled to win this game. Difference of 24. Yeah, keep Mickey sure right. Yeah, again, I wasn't campaigning for it. But also you got to make the argument here that, I mean, he's had 6 days. You know what I mean? This was Scott Frost's team. That again, that's kind of the reality of it, right? Let's see. Terry Linden says, just keep hitting the reset button. This is an example of what it looks like. Nebraska is way too far behind, in my opinion. Okay. Yeah. I think that's certainly one strategy that we're looking at here. You got to hit the reset button. A lot of people are saying, let's hit the reset button. Let's hit the reset button and see what can happen. I mean, at this point, we're kind of 4 games into the year. We're 1-3, and that's why you make that move on Scott Frost before the buyout, I think, right? Is you want to let everybody know, hey, we're open for business. Are you coming?